All right, so this is gonna be something completely different and new from what you've seen on this channel and the podcast and even the Legends of Mariachi series that I did. This is something that I feel is very important and very necessary, especially for the younger mariachis in well, at least I can speak directly to the ones in Texas, Central Texas, really all around. I mean, I've played all over the state, and this video this is not first of all, this is not clickbait. This is really the story of how I lost almost $200,000 over all the years that I've played mariachi, and I have played uh, as full time as possible. I was a full time student for nearly the past 6.5 years that I did play mariachi. So there was a lot of gigs that I turned down, a lot of things I couldn't do that were because of just simply at school. I had exams, or I was in the Texas State Mariachi. I had other things that I couldn't do gigs for. So there was more money that I could have made on top of that. But then there's things that didn't let me make all the money I could have. But so yeah, so this is really for if you're between the ages of 16 to 21. This can help uh, anybody in any age range, really, for any kind of business or whatever money you make. But this will be the most beneficial for mariachi musicians. This video might be a little long. The ones after this probably won't be as long. But this is just to give an introduction and a little bit of a background and backstory to myself and what led me to this point, and really having this need to be able to give as much advice or as much tips as I can to the people that are going to be doing this, because mariachi is going to be around for a long time. Musicians have been around for thousands of years. It's going to keep going. Money keeps going up. The amount that you earn per gig when I started was 60 on average. I would get 50 sometimes in Austin, up to, or as little as 35 in the Valley, up to 70, 80, 90. I've been all through different ranges, different groups, different types of events. But as the years went by, the price kept going up, so it started getting paid more and more. But if we just quickly break down this 175,000, so there's a reason that it's that specific number, and there'll be a couple spreadsheets that will show up right here on the screen. But I have kept track of every single dollar that I've made in mariachi since 2018. So 2016 and 2017, I did not keep track in any kind of way, in terms of writing it down or in any Excel sheet. But I was able to estimate based on historical data between these different charts that you'll see, and the amount that I was getting paid with that group at that time. So adding between August of 2015 to now, to December of 2021, the total was I believe about $176,000. And I can tell you right now, I have close to none of that. A handful. I have honestly, I have about 3 grand, and I mean that is it. Where did all my money go? Well, one thing is, well, this. Right. So all these videos I've made is a lot of equipment, a lot of expensive equipment. I lived in Austin for many, many years. The cost of living in Austin is high. Uh, I lived on my own since I was 18. So, uh, but there's still no reason that I should have ended up with 3 grand. When you break down what the actual cost of living is for a single person in, let's just say, Texas. California is going to be a whole different thing. But in Texas, I say $20,000 a year. So if you break that down, you say $20,000 a year. You divide that by 12 months. That'd be $1,600 a month. It's a little more, but it's just say 1,600. Make it flat. And so, okay, first of all, $650 for rent if you have roommates. Utilities, that's another $100 on top of that, so that's $750. $200 for groceries, that's $950. Another $150 for gas if you drive to all your gigs. That now you're at $1,100. So that's $1,100, and that's the bare minimum for, I'd say, a good amount of freshmen in college. Even way less if you're 16 and doing gigs in high school, which I know there are a lot of you that do that. But there's the other end of that. So you have a car payment at $200. That's $1,300. And now if you have a phone bill, that's another $100. That's $1,400. And let's say insurance, for car insurance, health insurance, that's another let's say $100. You're at $1,500, and so that leaves $100 for what? For going out, partying, for drinking, for just having fun, really. And that's 15. So that's the 1,600 right there. That's not including school, books, whatever happens. Your tire blows out, your car messes up, family emergency. You have your own emergency. You go to a hospital. That doesn't include even that. So school depends on which school you go to, but it's going to be at least $5,000 a semester. And so all of this is assuming you have no financial aid and no supplemented income from your parents. So it adds up quickly. But even though it adds up, you can make a lot of money in Mariachi. Like, the amount is ridiculous if you break down what how much you make per hour. Even if you include driving time and getting ready, which I don't know why some people include that, but just you get ready for a regular job anyways. It becomes easy to spend pretty much every dollar you have. And there was many reasons why I have close to nothing now, in the sense of, I don't have like 50 grand in my savings. If I would have stayed at 20 grand a year and not done any big purchases or anything that I didn't need, so that's 20 grand times 6, that's 120,000. That would leave me with $56,000. So I should have theoretically $56,000 in cash right now. I don't have anywhere near that. And man, the amount of reasons why that did not happen, it would take a few hours to say everything. But we're just gonna go quickly through a couple things, and then you'll see actually the spreadsheet, the Excel sheets, and the charts that I've made to one, show proof of all this, and to kind of show you the spikes and kind of divots that happen within mariachi. In a way, it's a seasonal thing. Things will go up in certain times of year, in May and in December, and then they'll dip horribly January, February, and then be somewhere in the middle in the summer. And that is a trend that is true every year, every single year. And in these charts, you'll see how crazy, even though it's a different year, different amounts of money that I made, it still follows a very similar trend. One that could be the group you play with, but it's just the way mariachi works. Cinco de Mayo, you make a lot of money. Mother's Day, Dia de la Virgen, wedding season comes. Here, the group I play with, San Judas is a big holiday for Catholics, and we get insane amount of work that week. So there are, in a way, seasons to this. There's always gigs every single day. I've done a gig on at 10 a.m. On a Tuesday at a wedding for 10 people. There's gigs every day, every hour of the day. But to go through every single year is going to take hours. So we're just going to right now really focus on the beginning of when I first started making all this money and to where it all went horribly wrong. So I moved to Texas State, to San Marcos, right after high school, the summer after my high school graduation. And at first I didn't know anybody in this area. I was lucky enough to be able to join this group that I had no experience in doing gigs outside of school, other than this one small Christian mariachi that I played with, a handful of gigs in the valley, and they're paying me $35 to $40 the hour, and we had maybe 4 gigs a month, so it was not a lot of money at all. Then I came to Austin, and I remember the first time I made over $400 in a week, which was insane. I did not know what to do with all this money. At this time, I had no phone bill. I had no car payment. I had no credit cards. I had really nothing. School was paid for. Luckily, I was able to get financial aid. My room and board was also paid for. Everything. I didn't need to pay for anything. It was just money that was coming in. So I spent it, right? Because there's nothing else to do but spend all your money when you're 18 years old. And it was a trend that was fine up until I flunked out of college. And when I say I flunked, I had a 1.6 GPA. And it was bad. There's many reasons. School and mariachi and personal relationships were difficult to deal with when moving hundreds of miles away from your family and everybody that you know. So it just didn't seem, school it always came easy to me all these years before in middle school and high school. So I was like, I'll just pass the test. This time I didn't pass the test. So the biggest amount I made for my freshman year in Texas State was Dia de la Virgen week, which is about $700. And I was like, damn, what am I going to do with this money? I quickly found out I spent it all of it in a day. And it wasn't for something that I wanted. It was my car messed up. I messed it up. I was stupid and hit a curve. But it literally cost $650 to fix. So it was all gone. It wasn't a huge deal because, like I said, I didn't need to pay for anything. It was just money coming in. So luckily I was able to do it. But then came the spring. I started making more and more. I started doing more gigs, playing with new people, meeting more people in Austin. Then came the West Coast tour that we did with the Texas State Mariachi. When I played with them, we went to Las Vegas in California, and man, I spent about $500 on that trip, which was about 90% of all the money I had. I came back with almost nothing, and I was no longer living in the dorm since it was the summer at this point, and I had enough to pay for the first month's rent that I was subleasing from a friend of mine, and it was for June, July, and actually it was just 2 months. She didn't even tell me that until halfway through. But either way, I had about $8 in my account about the first week of June. And when I say I had $8, that's literally all the money I had. I could have searched every pocket that I had and on my bank and my savings, nothing. It was $8. And it was a Tuesday, right? So I had no money, no way of getting money. I didn't have anybody to rely on at that time. Part of it is a culture of Mexican culture where you don't ask for things. I don't know, if that needs to change or not. Maybe is that a good or bad way to think of things? It worked for me because it made me get to this point. And even though I said I have nothing at this point, I would have negative nothing if it wasn't for what happened at that time. But it was always this mentality of never ask when you can do it yourself. And I could do it myself. There's nothing keeping me from having money or making money. I just spent it all. And I never felt it was fair or right to be asking people for money when I could just do it myself. So I asked nobody, said nothing. I had to literally choose between eating or putting gas in my car to go to my next gig. And I was actually doing summer school at that time, right? So I had to drive to school. So I put gas in my car. I did not eat. There was a time where I didn't eat for, it was about almost 2 days straight because I could not afford to eat. So then the weekend came and I was able to make money. Luckily, I saw a friend of mine that week, and it just happened. He's like, "Hey, I'm going out to eat." It's my mom. I was like, "Oh, cool." He invited me. They paid. I was able to eat. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have eaten for another day. So I was fortunate for that to happen. I was been very fortunate in many other ways. But at that moment, I just felt horrible because there's no reason I should have been in that situation ever in my life. So that in that moment, I made some money that weekend and I started budgeting. And I started budgeting in a very different kind of way. It has to do with, I guess, the way I think, and my degree. It's industrial engineering, so it's a very business side of engineering. That's just a very broad description of it. But I started setting a limit to everything that I would need. So food, I started off really high, and it was $100 a week, and I would spend it because I had the money to spend it, but I did not need to. And so I quickly found out that that's a lot. I don't have to spend that much. I was able to. Gas, same thing. I can't remember exactly these numbers. They're in Excel sheets that have been lost by now. But gas, I believe, is something like $50 a week. And at this time, I still didn't really have bills. So it was really just gas and food, and whatever stuff I needed for school. And so it was very easy to keep track of. But if at 18 someone told me, I could help you have $100,000 at by the time you're 22, 24. But just that's gonna be your money. Do whatever you want with it. Invest it. Buy a house. I could have had an amazing 2-story, 3-bedroom house in the valley, and I mean, like, very, very nice house because just how cheap the cost of living is in the valley. I've Man, I could have paid off all my student loans. I could have done it. Man, an enormous amount. I could have invested most of it, and I know people that are good with investing could have made triple my money by now. But I didn't. I didn't have anybody come tell me that. There were some people that did, but um, none of them ever did mariachi, and it's such a unique thing. Even the people that do, that are musicians that play in rock bands, that play in jazz and salsa and stuff. Mariachi is very different because it's so fast. It's so quick. You just wake up. Sometimes I've been woken up from just a nap around in the middle of the day when I wasn't working. 3 p.m. He calls me. He's like, "Hey, we have a gig. 40 minutes. Be here." And I'm like, "Okay." I go. Here's $80. And sometimes it was just serenade. I play 4 songs, and now I go back home and I have $80, which $80 was nothing, right? Throw it away. Times 10, 800. Times another 10, 8,000. You do what? 100 serenades, $8,000. The the amount of money that you exponentially make in mariachi is just insane, and you should be able to take advantage of that. There's no reason that any mariachi should live week to week. I mean, there are a lot of reasons. You have family, you have a wife, you have kids, you have things that happen, right? Things can happen, and people always aren't able to save 50% of their income. A lot of people aren't. But that's why this is really geared towards 16 to 21 year olds, where you should be able to. There's some that have different circumstances, but this is generalizing. This is for the people that can do it. There are ways to do it, even if you are tighter budget, if you have to pay all these things, and that will be other videos I will cover, because I've been on both ends where I had to pay for nothing and I would have to pay for everything. So I've experienced very many types of circumstances in life, and so there's nobody really to tell me what to do with this money, because it was so easy to make more whenever you spend it. There's times where I'm like, oh man, I only have $1,000 in my account, and in 2 weeks I had 3,000. How's that possible? I just went and did gigs. Where I do have a nice paying job, but honestly, if I were to do mariachi full time, I would make more currently at the job where I'm at. Now I am entry level, right? So getting paid basically the minimum for an engineer for entry level, or right underneath that. So the issue is, if I were to do mariachi full time, one, I'd be extremely tired, and you could max out maybe 60 grand a year, and that's it. There's no growth unless you run your own group, and you probably make $100,000 if you do it correctly. If you charge right, if you're in the right area too. Austin is a great place to make a lot of money, but that comes with a whole other set of things. You do have to pay taxes. You're in charge. You have to register the name. You have to pay for a lot of things. Sometimes deposits don't go through. You have to pay musicians. The gig doesn't happen. You're still all there. What do you do? Be a good boss, or just say, oh, it's too bad, nobody gets paid, go home. So that is another whole another bunch of things that come with running your own group. But if I were to just do mariachi full time, I would cap at a certain amount, and I would be so burnt out. That's not to say that you shouldn't. If you want to do mariachi full time, and that's what you feel in your heart that you want to do, then do it. Be very smart about it, and listen to the advice that people give you. You know, good advice. But see, for me, you know, it's been going on for a while, so we're gonna get into the actual Excel sheets, and so I can really show you what I mean, and you know, hopefully, you get a better sense of everything that I just been rambling on about. These episodes will have a structure. We'll go into things like, so we'll go over things like breaking down each year. I just kind of did a brief summary of each year of that I played, the ups and downs. You know, some years I made less, some years I made more. On the trends that Mariachi follows, you know, like Mother's Day and Dia de la Virgen. Videos on managing workload with Mariachi. School and playing in a collegiate mariachi. Is it worth it? Should you do it or not? And I've played in a couple, and you know, have a lot of very different views on that. So there'll be different things that will be covered over the course of of this new series. But you know, let's get into the actual Excel sheet so y'all can see what I'm talking about here.